Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to AMC Mailbag, the all mailbag show here on AMC Movie News, where all we do is take your mailbag questions. My name is John Campia. I am the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News. So glad you're joining us today, where we're taking your mailbag questions. And of course, joining me today, of course, the host of AMC Mailbag, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, John?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much.
Glad to be here.
And for those of you who don't know, the way this show works is this. Look, if you've got a topic or a question that you'd like brought up on the show, just email us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, every day on AMC Movie Talk and here on the weekends on Mailbag, all we do is take your questions. So send them on into us and maybe you'll see your question on the show. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. Ashley, what do we got?
All right. Carter Bagley writes, I love this show and watch it every day. I was wondering whatever happened to AMC Versus. That really liked it. And the arguments you guys had. Anyways, thanks for your wonderful content and keep bringing the filth.
Great question. AMC Versus was an idea for a show that we had that went through several incarnations. Mm-hmm. I loved the first idea of the show, but which was kind of more like a courtroom drama show where we even had podiums and people debating and arguing each other. But I mean, it was an idea that sounded good in my head. And a lot of people didn't really catch on to it and really get it. And I'm watching this like, okay, yeah, it's not really working the way I wanted it to. And so, and I also thought it's kind of outside of what we do. Like we're a film discussion group. So then we changed the format of Versus to more of a panel discussion and talking about both sides and all that kind of stuff. And it worked. And in some ways it didn't work. And we had fan voting, but then some people figured out a way to manipulate the fan votes. So, like, we had this one, I remember this one episode we had of AMC Versus where it was Batman versus Superman. Mm-hmm. Who's better, Batman versus Superman? And it ended up getting, like, 55,000 votes for Superman, 25 votes for Batman. So clearly somebody figured a way to manipulate and cheat the system, which meant that we couldn't do fan voting, and we had to figure out new ways to do it. And so we just decided, and, you know, not a ton of people were watching them. Mm-hmm. So they were getting like 15 to 20,000 views an episode, which is not bad, But we decided let's take a step back from AMC Versus and figure some stuff out. Now, we've got a bunch of new shows coming on AMC Movie News. We've got, you know, AMC Heroes, which is coming, which is going to be a weekly, just all talking comic book movie news. We've got AMC Jedi Council relaunching again as a weekly show. We're really excited about that. AMC Rewind, I'm so excited about. So we've got some new stuff coming. AMC Versus is in our plans. We just don't know how we're going to fit it in yet, whether it's going to be a monthly special, whether it kind of makes a comeback as a weekly thing, not really sure yet, but we are looking at it. And, you know, we're always trying to come up with shows that we think you guys want to see. That is always our bottom line. What do AMC Movie News viewers want to see? And then we try to develop program for that. And if we take a swing and we miss, that's okay. If we try a show and it doesn't quite work out and people don't quite take to it, no problem. We'll just cancel it and move on to the next thing. It's always striving to try to figure out what you guys want to see, and that's what we try to do. We don't always succeed, but I think we succeed more than we fail, and we're always going to try that.
How did you choose what movies you guys would do for Versus? Like how was that worked out?
Oh, that was tough. That was always the discussion every week is what's going to be the topic for Versus?
Yeah.
What versus what? We always try to pick out something that'd be popular. So, you know, there's one thing we did, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes had just come out. Mm-hmm. So we thought, okay, who's the better Andy Serkis motion capture character, Caesar or Gollum? Then, you know, Spider-Man was just coming out. So we said, who played the better Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire? So we try to look at what's popular, what are AMC Movie Talk fans talking about right now, and we try to base it around that. Sometimes we got good ones. Sometimes we didn't do so good ones. But it was always a discussion every week. And we will again if we bring Versus back into the fold.
Awesome.
All right, what's next?
Always Forgiven, right? So everyone always wants to know the best films of the year. I want to know so far, what have been the worst films you have seen this year?
You know, I'm going to want some help from everybody. And we got Jonathan Voick over there on the thing. Dennis back there fact-checking. Ashley, you too. For me, this has been actually a pretty good year for film in the sense that there's not a lot of films this year that I went out going, oh my God, that's 3 hours of my life I'll never get back. You know, there's not many of those this year. A couple that stand out to me. One I actually was kind of looking forward to was Pompeii with the guy who plays Jon Snow on thing. And Kiefer Sutherland was in it too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland was in it. Awful. So bad. Another one, I wanted to like it going into it, but the Adam Sandler film Blended. So, and I felt bad hating it so much because we had just had the director of the film in our AMC Movie News studio talking to us. This is the same guy who directed in my opinion, the two best Adam Sandler films, which was Waterboy and The Wedding Singer. And he was directing Blended, so I had a lot of hope for Blended. Awful, though. Just an awful, awful movie. Then there's that tornado movie that was just out recently, Into the Storm, which was so bad. Hercules, take your pick. I know there were two Hercules movies. Take your pick. Doesn't matter. At least the one with The Rock had The Rock and had some funny moments, and there was some redeemable quality about it. But both of those ones, including the Twilight Boy, Kellen Lutz, that's his name, who I like. I like Kellen Lutz. I think he's got a future in this business. But Hercules was bad. To me, though, by far, like by a mile, the worst film of the year was Transformers. Like, to me, no questions asked. Like, if you said, okay, John, we're going to make you watch all these awful films, but you can pick one that you don't have to watch again. I'm like, just spare me the Transformers again. That's all I think. Hey, guys, Dennis, anything else to you this year that stood out as being really, really awful?
No, I mean, for me, it's definitely Transformers 4. However, I think unlike you, where like if I were forced to watch it again, I would probably enjoy it on the level of just being laughing at like
look how bad this is.
Yeah, just like the Romeo and Juliet scene and like, you know, just a bunch of the scenes in it. I'd probably laugh at it.
Yeah. And for those of you wondering why we don't have Dennis on camera, he did not suffer any type of Two-Face acid on his face kind of thing. We try to get the camera where the camera's not working, so we try to have him on there. Jonathan, you got what's your absolute worst movie of the year?
It was Transformers.
Jonathan's also saying Transformers. Ashley, what about you? What was the worst movie you saw this year?
I don't want to talk about it. I feel like it's coming to my mind.
What do you mean you don't want to talk about it?
You know, I'm going to get some S for it, but I feel like it's coming to my mind because I think it's either in today's or yesterday's mailbag. But I just... Dracula Untold.
A lot of people hated Dracula Untold.
Because I was so, I guess we'll get to it. I think we're going to get to it.
Oh, yeah, Dracula Untold's on the questions.
Yeah, so I think that's probably why it's on my mind, but I just wasn't a fan.
All right, but hey, the important thing is, I'm just curious, what do you guys, for you, what were the... Do me a favor, jump in the comment section, guys, and list your three. I'm going to give you three. You don't even have to put them in any particular order. Jump in the comments. Let me know your three, what you think were the worst movies of the year so far. I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say.
Do you ever feel awkward talking about that, though? Because, like, it's kind of a conflict of interest a little bit. Don't you feel awkward sometimes saying what you didn't like? Okay.
No, because here's the thing. I mean, there is a conflict of interest thing we got to be careful of. And that's why I have a rule. Dennis and I, you know, we actually talk about this like every 6 months or so. As well as Amy Rose and stuff like that. But where's the line that we draw? And I think right now, the line that we've had for a while and that we feel comfortable with is, you know what? Because we are a movie theater chain, and these studios are our partners, but we cannot compromise our integrity either. We decided, okay, we won't talk trash about a movie in its week of release. And what do we say? Like for the first week or two?
2 weeks.
Maybe 2 weeks while it's out. Now, don't get me wrong. We will not say anything good about the film either. We'll let you know it's coming out. We'll put its poster up on our wall. Say, here's the movie's coming out. If you want to see it, there it is. And we won't talk trash about it the week of release and maybe for the first week that it's out. But after that, it's fair game. And the studios understand that we have to be honest. Because here's the thing. If we're not honest about when we think a movie sucks... Why would an audience member believe us when we say a movie is awesome? Look, if I'm not honest and say, I thought Transformers was garbage, if I'm not honest about that, then when I come out and say, guys, this new Tom Cruise movie, Edge of Tomorrow, or Live, Die, Repeat, or whatever name they're making it today, is so good. Like the studios want me to say when I love a film, but there's no value in me saying I love a film if I'm not also going to be honest when I think a movie was bad. The studios understand that. They expect nothing less from us. And we've never had a studio email us or anything to say, hey, why are you saying bad things about this movie? Has never happened because they understand how it works. So I feel comfortable with that.
All right.
What's next?
Darshan Patel writes, I am a big superhero/comic movie fan, with recent reports by Variety that Jared Leto is playing Joker in the upcoming Suicide Squad movie. As many know, Joker was never part of the Squad, and I think bringing him in this movie is a bad idea unless he comes as a memory to Harley Quinn or is not a part of the Squad, as being a member of the Squad will limit his appearance in future Batman movies as they wear some explosives on them. And I see him more as a leader than one who takes orders. What do you think?
I think, let me get this out of the way. I'll get to the details, but let me give you one overarching premise. It's always dangerous to start thinking we know what they should and shouldn't do when we don't know what they have in mind. Like, it's one thing for us to say it's a bad idea for him to be in Suicide Squad. Well, it's okay to feel that, but maybe it's only a bad idea to have him in Suicide Squad according to the precepts that you already have constructed in your head about what that would be. When really they may be giving us something. David Ayer, the director of the film, who just directed Fury, did a marvelous job directing that film. He's got something in mind. And let's not jump to whether what they're going to do is a good or a bad idea until we kind of see it. Look, I said on AMC Movie Talk myself, I don't like the idea of Joker in the Suicide Squad. I don't mind him in the movie Suicide Squad. I just don't want him in the squad because I don't want to see him acting heroically.
Right.
I don't want any of that. If he's like the guy the Suicide Squad has been brought together to go after, choice. But at the same time, if I find out he is in the Suicide Squad, I'll go, okay, I think that's a bad idea, but let's see what David Ayer has in mind. Let's see what he's thinking. And because then maybe he'll present to us a set of circumstances that'll make us go, oh, this could work. So let's not get too worked up all at once. So that's the way I kind of approach it right now.
So there was a ton of theories
online.
Oh,
so many.
Top two being that he's going to be a villain. And I read somewhere, I think, about glass prison type of thing, like Loki is in, and he's trapped in this, and he'll give out the information, but like spin it to his benefit. Do you think it could be either of those?
So a little bit like a Silence of the Lambs kind of type of thing, right? Where Clarice goes to him and says, "Tell us what they're thinking, Joker," or whatever Jared Leto's going to do. I like that theory. That's actually pretty.
Yeah.
What if Jared Leto is in prison, put there by the Batman 10 years ago? And now the Suicide Squad is going after somebody that the Joker has some intimate knowledge about, and they just go to him. And then by the end of the film, Jared Leto, the Joker, escapes, and that which leads us into the next DC Cinematic Universe where Batman's got to go after him again. That works for me.
Yeah.
That sounds great to me. Maybe it doesn't fit with what David Ayer's thinking, but if he goes that way, I'm all for it. Sounds like a great theory to me.
Only time will tell.
All right, what's next?
Joe Vang writes, hello AMC, my question is simple. What's the difference between an IMAX camera, 3D camera, and a regular camera that they have always used for movies?
First of all, Joe, don't lie to me. Don't say I have a simple question, then ask a question like that. That is far beyond my pay grade. Fortunately, I've got somebody sitting back here, Dennis Zen, who, once again, our camera doesn't work on him right now, but Dennis is far more versed in the world of production than I am. Dennis, what's the difference between, just in general principles, what's the difference between an IMAX camera, a regular camera, 3D camera?
Well, a regular camera can be either film or digital. Like a regular camera, most movies are shot on 35 millimeter.
The ones that use film.
Yeah. And then but the IMAX one is a larger format, and it's a film camera. It's about 70 millimeters. And I think the resolution is about 3 times as large.
If I'm not mistaken, I thought I read that like the 65 millimeter print, 70 millimeter, it's like 6 to 8 times HD or something like that. Yeah, whereas digital can go 3 to 4 times or something like that.
I think that's versus like 1920 by 1080. But now with digital, we have like, the red epics are 6K and all that stuff. So I think
it changes quickly.
Yes, and also with film, it's all theoretical resolution because it's not like digital where you know exactly how many lines of resolution that you have. But IMAX is always film cameras. It's just a larger format, so you get more resolution. And then 3D cameras are, they can be film or digital, but most of them are digital. And it's just, they use 2 cameras, one for your left eye, one for your right eye.
So 2 individual sets of lenses.
Yeah, and 2 capturing, and now there's like specialized ones like the Fusion camera, which James Cameron developed.
Right.
And they also do some cameras use a beam splitter in order to get like the 3D stuff. So yeah, that's the basics of.
And didn't I read somewhere? Correct me if I'm wrong. I read somewhere that whereas a traditional film camera, the film goes from top to bottom, but then an IMAX camera, because of the wider aspect ratio of the film, it actually goes from left to right. It actually scrolls sideways.
It goes a different way because the actual film is much larger.
Well, I hope that answers your question much more intelligently than I would have, Joe. Thanks, Dennis. All right, what's next?
Nick Parker writes, with the announcement of the Suicide Squad and Justice League casts recently, if you had to choose who has the highest quality of cast, Marvel or DC cinematic universes?
This was a super, super, super easy question to answer a week ago. Now it's a little bit closer. Look, DC just cast in one movie Will Smith, Tom Hardy, Academy Award winner Jared Leto. You got Jai Courtney, who I think is a very underrated actor. You got Margot Robbie coming off of Wolf of Wall Street. All these people, one movie. They just got Ben Affleck as Batman. They've made it really interesting. Terrific cast. But it's still not very close. Marvel has right now, because they have a lot more movies, but Marvel right now has in their cinematic universe some of the greatest actors to ever live. You got Robert Redford in there. You got Sir Anthony Hopkins in there. You got Gandhi in there. I mean, and on top, you got Robert Downey Jr. You got Chris Hemsworth. You got, you've got Academy Award winner Natalie Portman. You've got you have Michael Douglas now, thank you, in Ant-Man with Paul Rudd, who's one of the best comedic actors in the world right now. It's an unfair comparison because Marvel's already so much more established and such a bigger repertoire. But if you're going to ask a question straight up, who's got the better, actors in their stable right now? It's Marvel. Right now. Let's ask the question again in 3 years. Let's see where they are in 3 years. And Chris Pratt, too. They've got who is one of the biggest movie stars in the world right now, with Jurassic World coming out and all that kind of stuff. So right now, I still think it's a fairly easy question to answer. It's Marvel. But DC has made it a much more interesting question with the Suicide Squad announcements, and now I cannot wait. With Kevin Tsujihara, look, I am waving the Kevin Tsujihara flag. I am all in on this head of Warner Brothers. He's so dead serious about the DC cinematic universe. He is willing to go all in with it. They are pulling out all the stops. They are putting in the biggest name actors. They are going after the biggest directors. They want to do something big. It might end up failing, but if it fails, it will not be from lack of effort. So I can't wait to see. Look, we talked about on yesterday's show, we talked about, who's going to be Green Lantern. Now I can't wait to find out who it is because they're going after big talent. I'm really excited.
I wasn't on Movie Talk when you guys talked about the casting of Suicide Squad, but I have to bring up the casting of Cara Delevingne. Is that for sure one? That's one. And what the hell? That was I view her as this kind of queen of the tabloids, and I feel like Suicide Squad is one for the true fans. Not a lot of people know about Suicide Squad, so why would you pick this queen of the tabloids to be in Suicide Squad?
And we're talking about the girl who was in Anna Karenina,
the
and something.
Blonde.
Right? Okay, so I don't know. I honestly don't know. They obviously saw something that they liked, if you're going to do a casting decision like that, at least do it for one of the smaller characters in the overall thing. And look, everybody in Suicide Squad is a smaller character relative to the DC cinematic universe, other than Joker, obviously. But look, when Suicide Squad as a movie does not exist if it wasn't for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Marvel comes along with Guardians of the Galaxy. Look, we're going to take this obscure, that even comic book fans don't read. This obscure galactic team that's really weird with a walking tree and a talking raccoon and a guy with all green skin and all this kind of stuff and make it the #1 box office film of the year. Well, now DC can sit back and go, hey, then we've got this thing called Suicide Squad, and let's try it.
Yeah.
They've packed it with all these big name actors other than her.
Yeah.
But I think you can put in an actress like her now. If you think she's right for this role, and it's not a big role. Look, I have a problem. Everybody knows I have a problem with the Gal Gadot casting as Wonder Woman. Because In that, we are talking about the single most important and iconic female character ever in the history of comic books, ever, period, end of sentence. So I've had a problem with that. But putting an actress like her into a role like this, I think that makes more sense. And let's see how it all kind of pans out.
We'll see.
All right, what's next?
Randy Perez writes, hey guys and gals of AMC Movie Talk, what are the chances that we will get a Dracula Untold sequel? I rather enjoyed the movie and would definitely welcome a sequel with my arms wide open. Thank you and keep up the amazing work.
How wide open would your arms be to another Dracula Untold? Yes.
I mean, what could you tell?
Look, Dracula Untold, despite the fact that it had a terrific leading man in Luke Evans, who is just awesome. It was really sad I found out this week. We talked about an AMC Movie Talk earlier this week that apparently he's dropped out of The Crow, which is really too bad. My anticipation level for The Crow has now dropped a bit. Crow also lost his director, which has been attached to the film for 3 years. Now he's gone too. So that film's in a total mess.
Yeah.
But anyway... It was just a bad script. It was badly told. There were so many things wrong with that movie. Look, because Luke Evans is so charismatic and carries the screen so well, there were a number of things in the film that I think gave it some redeeming qualities, but still I walked out going, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
They could have done something so cool. And that little tag-on ending they made at the end where it's now modern day, which, by the way, was filmed much later.
Oh, wow.
They filmed that much later after they had the idea of, hey, maybe we can tie this Dracula movie into this upcoming monster universe that we're trying to set up at Universal. It was an afterthought. And then and it felt forced and weird and out of place. And look, the movie had a $70 million budget. North America alone, it only made $55 million. So clearly the North American audience was not clamoring to go see it, and the reviews didn't help it. Worldwide, it made 220, which means the film barely broke even. After you take into consideration the marketing costs, and then you take out how much the theaters keep, I think the studio, I think, barely broke even on it. So it's going to take the studio getting a script in front of them that goes, look, we really believe in this. We think we can redeem this character now. Let's give it a shot. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if they totally scrap the idea of bringing this Dracula into their Monster Cinematic Universe and say, no, it's a new Dracula for our Monster Cinematic Universe. They'll be part of the continuity. I think that's what they're going to do.
I love the idea. When I read about it before I saw it, I was like, this sounds freaking amazing. Do you think a sequel could actually save the first one, like make it a little bit better?
No,
I
really don't, because now there's nowhere to go.
Yeah,
especially with that pathetic ending, that forced ending at the end. Now you just cornered yourself. Now there's nowhere left to go, really. So I don't think it could.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
William Posser writes, hey guys, big fan, watch you all the time. My question is this: what is your opinion on cameos in movie adaptations of old TV shows? Like, I feel they work if the situation is right, i.e. 21 Jump Street, but sometimes they just seem forced, i.e. the A-Team. What do you guys think? Love the show.
I think it always feels forced.
Oh, really?
Even in 21 Jump Street, that felt forced. But I liked it. You see Johnny Depp and what was the name of the other guy?
Oh, I forgot.
Donnie or Gecko or Geeko, whatever. Yeah, fact checker Dennis, check that out. Even that one in 21 Jump Street, which I felt worked and I laughed, it still felt forced to me. I think it always feels forced. And in A-Team it felt forced, but I liked it in A-Team as well. Is it forced? Yes. But it's something we as an audience have come to expect in these remakes of TV shows into movies. And that arguably we want to see. And maybe the fact that they feel forced might even be a good thing. We want that moment where it almost feels like the movie comes to a stop. This is what makes it feel forced. It feels like the movie comes to a stop and then everybody in the movie just kind of turns to the camera and goes, you know, and that's okay. That's okay because it is what it is. It's not like we've forgotten that this is based on an old 80s premise or an old 80s TV show. So to answer your question, I have no problem with it. I think it's fun. I think it's something that you need to do when you're doing these remakes of the old TV show. I think we as an audience have now come to expect people from the original show to show up into it. And at the same time, I do think it feels forced. I think it screeches the movie to a halt. And all that being said, I think that's okay that they do it. So,
in the first movie, the
Richard Gecko, is that his name?
No. Richard Grieco was in the second one.
Oh, okay.
As a cameo, that he played that character, Dennis Booker. And in the first one, it was Peter DeLuise who played Doug Penhall.
Thank you. That's why we have fact checkers. Yeah, I love that about Mailbag now that we've got fact checkers. That's awesome.
Fact checker Dennis today. It almost adds a comedic feel to it. The forced element. Do you think it works better in comedies?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think what's it really like? I don't know. Hill Street Blues, an old Emmy Award-winning TV show that's very dramatic, very serious. It would feel, I can't remember the names of any of the actors in that show, but it would feel different to have a serious, hard-hitting, darker drama going on, and all of a sudden go, do. Here's the guy from the original Sergeant. Hey, everybody, let's be careful out there. That was the big tagline of the show. Let's be careful out there. That would be different. I think you raise a great point. Mm-hmm. Comedies, it works. Other things, probably not so much.
All right. Darcy Oliver writes, "Hi AMC, love the show as always. Congrats on your recent milestone. I was wondering, what do you mean when you say a film is canon? What does this mean? For example, what is Star Wars canon? Still confused on this. Thanks and keep up the good work."
Hey, great question, Darcy. And I always just take for granted everybody knows what you're talking about, because a lot of you guys watching know what we mean in talking canon, but not everybody does. And I'm really glad you've put on the brakes to say, hey, wait, what is this canon thing you keep talking about? Canon, for lack of a better term, is what is real. In this universe, what is actual history? What is real? What did happen in this world we're in, and what did not happen? So let's take Star Wars, for example, okay? When Episode 7 comes out, it has to operate by a certain set of rules and a certain history, and it has to acknowledge that X happened in the history of this world, right? Now, there are a whole bunch of Star Wars novels that came out. Like, I can't remember, hundreds of Star Wars novels that came out. None of them, though, are canon. What that means is none of them are actually the real history of Star Wars. So let's take my favorite Star Wars novels, what I wish they were doing a movie of, the Thrawn trilogy, okay? So Grand Admiral Thrawn, if the books were canon, then Star Wars Episode 7 has to shape its world understanding that Grand Admiral Thrawn was there, and he did, at some point in the history of Star Wars, did what he did in the Star Wars novels. But the Star Wars novels are not canon. Therefore, in the movies, all the stuff in those novels never actually happened. None of that is real. But Jar Jar Binks is canon, because it happened in one of the movies. It is real. It is history. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to reference Jar Jar Binks, but they have to operate their world now understanding that there was a Jar Jar Binks, and we can't ever do anything in this movie that contradicts the existence of Jar Jar Binks, because Jar Jar Binks is canon. The destruction of the first Death Star in the original Star Wars movies is canon. Let's look at real life in the real world, our world, right? Abraham Lincoln and all the things that he did and said and his significance in history is canon because it's real. That's history. So every movie cinematic universe sets up its own set of rules as to what is canon, what is actual history, what is real, what are the things we can and cannot contradict because it is canon. So that's what we generally mean when we're talking about canon.
I get it now.
Yay! We have understanding for everybody. I hope I explained that right. I'm sure I caused more questions than answers on that. Anyway, I think that was the last question, wasn't it? All right, guys, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Mailbag. Thanks so much for joining us today. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing in AMC theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater showtime and, of course, your movie ticket information. And look, we do an audio-only podcast of these episodes as well. If you want our audio-only podcasts, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed that you can use in iTunes, Podbean, whatever is your favorite podcast app of choice. You'll find our podcast feed in the description so you can listen to us on the way to work, or at the gym, or wherever you happen to be. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button on this video. It helps us out a lot. It lets us know that you like the videos that we're doing. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and share this video on your YouTube page or Twitter or whatever. I want to thank, of course, our lovely host, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you online?
Twitter, Instagram, at Ashley Mova.
I also want to thank the guy controlling everything, Jonathan Voico, our fact checker today, Mr. Dennis Zen, and most of all, thank you guys for participating and watching this show today. My name's John Campia. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, bye-bye.